if you just clicked on this video, you may be thinking, help, my piano students want to learn video game repertoire. Or perhaps you're a music student wanting to add more video game music to your playing and you want all the insider information. Where do I find great music at the stage of piano learning that I'm at? So either way, this video will give you some great reasons that you may love adding this genre to your teaching repertoire. It'll give you ways of how to integrate this into your teaching in creative ways, and then some collections that will get you started without you having to disappear into your basement for a year-long deep dive into video games to start sourcing out music that you think your students will love to play. So I started adding video game music into my teaching repertoire for some of these reasons. One, relatable, familiar repertoire. So I love that it's regulating for students to play music that they're familiar with, and it gives you a connection point with students. I love that it is something that students will love to share. It connects their music making to a whole world of other music students and video game appreciators. Video game music typically has creative themes. It has great storytelling qualities. Oftentimes it has trickier rhythms and it encourages more movement across the keys. So I love adding that type of repertoire to my teaching. Some ways that I love to integrate video game music in my teaching and work alongside students includes rote repertoire with mini samples of themes. So this might mean that when I welcome a student into my studio, I think, oh, well, are there any video game tunes that you recognize? And if there is one, I'll work to create a mini sample of that so they can just play a couple measures of Super Mario or a little bit of, Undertale or a bit of Minecraft. So there's great music out there. The next thing I might do is a mixed approach with rote learning and music learning. So in that context, we would run to find music that is great for the student at that level, but then I might also do some rote work with tricky rhythms and sounds in the piece that can use some of that ear-based learning with students, as well as unpacking the little tidbits in the score that will be valuable. I love using video game music as challenge pieces that are motivating or help students through a trickier season of music making. And I also find they're motivating preparation for performance pieces or goal pieces that students are working towards. So the next question you may be asking is, okay, I agree, let's add more video game music, but where can I find good scores? And I'll tell you, it's taken me a long time to find predictable sources for video game music because everyone is trying to make copies of this music. It's great music. It's got broad appeal. But what happens is you look on MuseScore or something for free copies of the music and you look at it and you're thinking, how does a piano player even play this? So if you're looking for some great repertoire from pedagogically sound composers, then I have some great ideas for you coming next. So video game music can be challenging, and unless you're able to spend hours and hours each week listening to the different various themes and learning them by ear and adapting them to the student in front of you, props if you do this for your students, then I love finding arrangements that are written with an educator lens that fit great under the fingers of students and that won't have you guessing at what level it's going to be prepared for. I also look for repertoire that sounds accurate and true to the theme because your students will know if they're like, that sounds nothing like it. It's too square or it's not moving in the ways that they'd expect it to move. So I want music that sounds authentic. Spoiler alert, playing a fabulous arrangement will be worth every penny and save your sanity, and it will also support amazing composers and arrangers creating really great piano music and well thought out educational scores. So an arranger that does this really, really well is Chrissy. So whenever I am presented with a question about video game music, I always search Chrissy first. And she often, and maybe even always, does her pieces in 3 different levels. So you can look for beginner for something like Minecraft music. She has a whole collection of Minecraft music. Or you can say, I want to look for Undertale, Megalovania music, and it's there. You can look for Legends of Zelda music, and even the Tetris theme if you want to go really old school, or Super Mario Brothers. So literally there is so much music in her catalog. I think I spotted close to 300 resources in that category. So I'll have to check my number on that, but it's pretty close. So Chrissy Ricker is a great resource for that. I also think that if you want to expand into collections that sound like video game music and allow students to create their own video game style sagas, then here are some other collections you might want to consider. So Mission X is also by Chrissy Ricker. It has almost a method book feel that students are creating this adventure, and it very much feels like a journey into the world of video game music. I also happen to have read that it's one of Chrissy's favorite genres and to create, and it makes sense because she does it really well. The next would be something like Saga Land by Elizabeth Swift. Elizabeth Swift is another contemporary composer with some fabulous repertoire, and she has 2 collections called Saga Land, and they are inspired by video game music themes and ideas and are a great segue into the world of contemporary music makers. The next collection actually is 3 different collections called Castle Tales by Susan Staples Bell. These are also specifically designed to sound like video game music. And Susan happens to have some video game creators in her own family. So this is a genre that she's familiar with, and I love that that shines through. You may also put on your listening list Nicholas Siderius. He is another contemporary composer who actually creates music for video games, and he has some books in his repertoire on Musicaferum of things like Nelly Coodalot, the Foul Fleet OST, and that is a whole collection of video game music. So I hope that you will find some amazing piano pieces to add to your student repertoire this year. Perhaps you might even think of doing a recital with a video game theme, and that's on my list for our studio. So I'd love to hear from you. What video game pieces are your students excited to learn, and is this a genre you'd like to explore more?